We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this rebel outpost. If you want to support the home for the true college football sickos with a donation to help us keep the lights on, hit that $sign where you make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. Appreciate your show, Greg. The yet to be determined. Thank you so much, Preston from Greensboro. I do appreciate your support. I appreciate you kicking us off in a good way tonight on July 16th as we get ever so closer and closer and closer to week 0. Dublin, Ireland, Iowa State, Kansas State.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said
it's a
you
3.5 point spread.
Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile
Dublin,
until
Ireland.
I look away.
I can't get it wrong. I'm not going to get it wrong.
Your blue eyes
Greg the Gold cannot afford to get the first game wrong. What is the PATC Einstein's gonna do? What is the PATC Einstein's gonna do with that game? Who are you gonna take?
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Got a buildup of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby, I have a taste.
Yes, that music is terrible, Mr. Monkey says. That music is terrible. It is Craig the Cold music. But fortunate for you, Mr. Monkey says, and Rod Nix, and Humble Bumble Duck, and Jay Chapman, and Go Black 45, and Lee Go Gators. Fortunate enough for you all, this is the music you're going to be hearing all year long. Greg the Gold, baby. Greg the Gold. I'm going to be 1-0. Cyclones, Wildcats, 1-0 against the spread. Book it. Book it. Okay, we got a stacked show for you guys today. Unbelievable show. On3, the great Brett McMurphy. Sources say that there is no chance that the Big Ten is going to get off their 4 automatic qualifying bids format if the SEC remains at 8 conference games. Something that we have told you for weeks here at Peek Around the Corner. It ain't going to happen. There's 3 options, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to get back to it at the back end of the monologue. You can call me up. You can yell at me once again. Put it in the comment section. There are 3 options. 1, the Southeastern Conference says, all right, okay, go in a 16-team playoff, more money, it's better for the sport. We're going to get a whole bunch of bids. Okay. We're going to get more money for the extra conference game. Okay. The Southeastern Conference is going to 9 conference games, and we are going to a 5+11 model. That is option number 1. Option number 2 is the Southeastern Conference says, nah. We're going to go to 9 conference games when we want to go to 9 conference games, probably when we are going to expand, but we're not looking at it for 2026. All right. It's going to be 5+7. That is option number 2. 5+7 in 2026. So there are 3 options. Option number 1, 5+11, SEC goes to 9 conference games. Option number 2, we remain the same. 5+7, the Southeastern Conference remains at 8 conference games. Option number 3. Greg Sankey, the Southeastern Conference presidents, after all these phone calls with Silent Tony, who after next week is going to be silent no more, Sankey goes back to the presidents, to the athletic directors, and says, okay, looks like we're going 5+7. And we remain at 8 conference games, which means the following. No extra playoff money. Okay. No extra 9th conference game extra money from ESPN. All right. No extra money for playing games. Okay. Oh, and by the way, Sankey tells the presidents, no expansion. We can't expand the conference with a 12-team playoff. We can't expand the conference remaining at 8 conference games. It is absolutely ridiculous. No expansion. At the beginning, for the next 4 years. So option number 3. After Silent Tony stands tall and says, this don't work for me, brother. We are not going to a 5+11 and you staying at 8 conference games. After Greg Sankey finally gets the message, and remember, as Andy Staples said it earlier today, Greg Sankey really does want the Southeastern Conference to have 9 conference games. He is pro 9 conference games. So, Greg Sankey is going to sit down with his president and his athletic directors and say, all right, I don't know, staying at 8 is no longer beneficial to us. So, we got to go to 9. And if we're going to 9 conference games, if we are putting on an extra 8 losses automatically, because that is what adding the 9th conference games does. 16 teams, 8 games, 9th conference game for each team. You're adding 8 losses in. What is and we got this unbelievable schedule. All of us are so great and so tough. Now what is our best option? Now what do the modeling tell us? What does Bill Connelly's numbers tell us? And maybe that third option is the Southeastern Conference takes another look at all these different AQ models. That is the third option. Unlikely, very unlikely. The top 2 options are 5+11, Southeastern Conference goes to 9 games, conference games. Number 2 option, we remain the same, 5+7. But there is no option. There is no option of a 5+11 and the Southeastern Conference remains at 8 conference games. That option, ladies and gentlemen, today on July 16th, take it off the table. It is not there. It no longer, it was never really there. We're going to go through the Brett McMurphy reporting, and we're going to, if you look at the title screen, suffering SEC succotash. The toughest schedules in FBS, according to ESPN Analytics. Florida is number 1. Vanderbilt number 2. Oklahoma number 3. Texas number 4. Arkansas number 5. Mississippi State number 6. Kentucky number 7. Georgia number 8. Texas A&M number 9. And Alabama number 10. Oh, and by the way, LSU's number 11. And the Southeastern Conference wants a strength of schedule, strength of record, metrics even heightened even more. Their wins are going to be more valuable. Their losses are going to be more valuable because of the self-fulfilling prophecy. We are great, so if we lose to each other, we are great. If we beat each other, we are great. And don't get me wrong, the Southeastern Conference, I've said this consistently, in my opinion, is still the best football conference in the country. But the gap has closed. And so if you are not an SEC school, if you are not one of the top Big Ten brands, if you're not one of the top Big Ten brands, and if you are not an SEC school, guess what? You cannot win the argument on metrics. You can't do it. They got you boxed in. Our brothers, our sisters from the Southeastern Conference have got you boxed in. It's already manufactured. I've given the analogy that your Big 12 jockey is on a horse that it starts out of the gate with the SEC horse 400 yards ahead of you and a mile and a half furlong race with the 5+11 in the Southeastern Conference remaining at 8 conference games. You cannot win. Look, BYU had a very good team last year. BYU had one loss that was to a tough middle tier but tough Kansas team. Yes, it was at home. It took BYU out of the playoffs, but BYU went 10-2. Very good football program. Very good football program. They finished behind three 9-3 Southeastern Conference teams. Not one, not two, but all three. It was the trifecta. And it wasn't Southeastern Conference teams that had lost 3 tough games to 3 really good teams. Or they lost 2 tough games to 2 really good teams and they had an off night. No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened to those 3 Southeastern Conference teams. I'm sorry, it did not happen. We talked about the resume. Now I can see a 9-3 Southeastern Conference team making a 12-team playoff. I can also see it in the Big Ten. I can also see it in the Big 12. I can also see it in the ACC if the circumstances are correct, but that wasn't correct. In my opinion, on an off year, 3 9-3 teams all finish ahead of BYU. All of them. In the playoff selection committee rankings. And now you're going to tweak the metrics even more in the Southeastern Conference, because remember, the strength of record is not even really included in the metrics, just the strength of schedule. Look at that. According to ESPN Analytics, this is the road everybody wants to go down. This is the road that everybody wants to go down. Wow. Before we go on to the show, I will say this. I can predict, even though I've been Greg the Cold the last 3 years. I can predict the majority of the comments in the chat room today. It's here is an analogy. The dam looks like it's breaking. The 5+11 SEC staying at 8 conference games. The dam is breaking. The water is rushing through. ACC, Phillips, and Yormark are going. They've been taken by the water. They're in the hard rapids. They're gonna drown. They're gonna drown. And at the last minute, and at the very last minute, Tony Petitti puts down his arm, put down his hands, grabs Yormark, yanks him up out of the raging river. Grabs Phillips, yanks him out of the raging river of water. He saves the Big 12. He saves the ACC from the 5+11, 8 conference games. And you know what happens next? After Brett Yormark dusts himself off and he gets a towel and he's all soaking wet, and Jim Phillips is spitting out water. He almost drowned. He's all soaking wet, and Petitti is giving him towels to dry off. You know what happens next? The PATC Einsteins rush in. They give Greg Sankey a big old fat kiss, and they slap Petitti on the right cheek. That exactly what would happen. My goodness. Thanks for coming in, guys. I appreciate it. We are going to be doing an Arkansas Razorback spotlight today. Jalen Green, we're going to talk about it. Can the Arkansas Razorback, can Sam Pittman get his job saved again? And Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports. What do you guys think about that? What is your opinion about Barstool, Dave Portnoy, Big Cat, doing a pregame show on Fox before the big noon show comes on? I don't think they're going to, I think they're going to be on before Urban Meyer and the crew. Let me know what you think about it. Look, in my opinion, it looks like FS1 and Fox is going after the younger crowd, right? It's all about the demographics. I do not have a real strong opinion because I haven't watched a pregame show at least for the last 3 years. If I added up all the minutes that I watch College Game Day and Big Noon on Fox, if I added up all the minutes, it would be less than 30 minutes over the last 3 years combined. I'm either doing a watch party at noon Eastern time, so I'm getting ready in the studio, I'm not paying attention, or, I'm looking at injury reports, I'm all over X, I'm all over message boards, I'm getting ready to do a watch party, or I'm not doing a watch party, and I'm doing all my errands that I need to do for the day, and I'm getting ready for the 12 o'clock Eastern game, but I'm not watching these pre-games. I have not watched a minute of Urban Meyer. I cannot remember the last time I watched Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit. I'm sure they do a fantastic job. I just don't watch it. I don't have the time. I'm busy. So, and I'm not really, I'm an old guy. They're not even looking to get a guy like me as a watcher. Let me know what you think about College Game Day, the move of Fox. It sounds like it's going to be official possibly tomorrow. Andrew Marchard put out a report about 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, saying don't be surprised, I'm paraphrasing, don't be surprised if we get a report tomorrow that it has become official. Ryan Willie, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Shaking my head. The Big 12 don't realize they're going to get screwed with a 5+11. Monty has even said that the format will only help conference the SEC. Yeah. Mark Rogers is for 5+11. Stop blaming the Big 10. We might get a 5+11. We could get a 5+11 for the next 4 years. But it ain't going to be with the Southeastern Conference remaining at 8 conference games. That's not going to happen. And that is very good news for the Big 12. Very good news for the ACC, even if they have to go up to 9. And very good news for the Big 10. Thank you for the super chat, Ryan Willie. I appreciate your generosity. Thank you so very much. Heartbreak 25. Why won't anyone ask Yormark his position on the SEC playing 8 conference games? I have no idea. I don't believe the question has been asked. If it's been asked, I don't think he has answered. And if he has answered, I don't think the answer was made public. I have no idea. When Tony Petitti comes out next week and flatly states, we're for ideas, we want more ideas, we could do a 5+11, but everybody's got to be playing the same conference games. Does Brett Yormark then come into the arena and say, yes, 5+11, SEC plays at 9 conference games? Does Yormark come in and say that at that point? But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because the Big 10 is going to use their veto pen on 5+11 with the SEC staying at 8 conference games. Thank you, Heartbreak 25. It hurt BYU and Colorado's playoff chances playing Kansas late last season instead of Mercer or Chattanooga. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Again, the Southeastern Conference is the most powerful, best football conference in the country. There are people that disagree with me. They think the Big Ten has passed them up. I don't think so. I think the gap has closed. And when the gap has closed, you see seasons like last year. They do come around if the gap is not so wide open. I still believe the Southeastern Conference is the best, most valuable, most powerful football conference in the country. But them playing at 8 conference games is a huge advantage. One that they do not want to give up. But if we're going to go from 7 to 11 at-large bids, they're going to have to give it up. Thank you, Heartbreak 25. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for all your support. And you are absolutely correct, in my opinion. Ryan Willie, what about Wisconsin's schedule? ESPN propaganda. Wisconsin's not on this list because all those Big Ten teams they play suck, right? Their rivalry games. Minnesota absolutely sucks, correct? But when you play Kentucky, they don't really suck. Vanderbilt, they're not really that bad. They're just playing a tough conference. Mississippi State, they're fine. Thank you so much, Ryan Willie. I do appreciate the super chat. Thank you so very much. Now, we got a big show ahead of us. We got to get to the roll call. Morris Simmons is in the house. Ed Cook is here. Nate L. Bundy, the architect. D5 Terps. Rod Nix, Big Gunshot. Mr. SEC football is better in the South, just like hockey is better in the North. Stephen Vitt is in the house. Lee Go Gators is here. CFP Plus is here. Adam, if the SEC give Big Ten what they want, then Florida will have 11 games every year locked in. They will only have scheduled flexibility for one game going forward. Same for UGA, South Carolina, and Kentucky. The Big 12 ACC loses those games. Or maybe Florida doesn't play. They're going to play Florida State every year and Miami every year, right? You're going to continue to do that every year, correct? Well, maybe if you're going to do that every year, maybe you should expand the conference, get Florida State in, and have that great rivalry game as an SEC conference game. Bring Florida State in the conference. Bring Florida State. The Big Ten wants to bring Notre Dame. The Big Ten does want to bring Miami. And they might bring Florida State in with Miami. Again, don't be afraid of the competition. Don't be afraid to play your conference mate, and you wouldn't have to worry if there was automatic qualifiers. It would be all about the conference race. Or you could have a bite at the apple with your non-conference games. If you do great in your non-conference games and they're big games, and if you win those, then you can do a little worse in your conference games and still possibly get in that large bid. If you don't want to be afraid of who you're playing, if you don't want to be afraid of how many conference games you play, the automatic qualifiers is the correct model. But if you want to dumb everything down, if you want teams to avoid losses, do the 5+11. Friends call me Sean. Thanks for coming on in. Edward the Auburn Tiger is in the house. Tom Dubay is here. L. Woody is here. Nerf is here. Who else has come on? Bimba 7579. He's a thumbs up on the Portnoy show. I don't have an opinion. I don't watch Barstool. I mean, maybe just a little bit, but I'm not. It's like Pat McMurphy for me. I'm not going to turn something on because he's on the channel. I don't hate the guy. I don't know. It's not a big deal for me, but it could be a big deal for you college football fans that are younger than me. So Bimba 7579 gives a thumbs up. Grant is in the house. Bob Swanger is here. Al Bundy, Taylor Mott. Grant is not a fan. Curtis is in the house. Curtis Portnoy becoming part of the Fox Game Day will be absolutely tremendous. Daniel Gorby is here. Mountaineer Memes is here. MBM Cope is in the house. Maybe SEC will plan expand in 9 games after adding UVA, UNC, Clemson, Florida State. Well, that's what I think is going to happen. I could be wrong. I got a 1% chance of getting that prediction correct. It's definitely not a report from PATC. It's a prediction. Me and Cope, I don't know if I'm saying your name correct, Cope. I apologize if I'm not. It looks like we're on the same wavelength. But yeah, the SEC is going to go to 9 games at some point. If you want a larger conference, you're going to go add another game. And I think they want a larger conference because the Southeastern Conference has plans. Jansen Roberts is in the house. Participation trophies. Put one in the Minnesota Golden Gopher locker room. Han Yuzi is in the house. The Walking Geek is here. Lee is here. Okay, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for showing up early on a July 16th live show. We are getting closer and closer. We got to talk some college football. We've been doing it all off season. The PATC, Peek Around the Corner Spotlight, is on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, I don't think Arkansas is going to be a candidate to get into the playoffs, but you know, ladies and gentlemen, we really don't know, do we? A lot of us, including Greg the Cold, who ain't showing up this year, Greg the Cold and a lot of people had Arizona State finishing last in the Big 12 Conference, and look at what they did. Arkansas Razorback, now they got the senior quarterback coming back for one more year. I like watching him play because he looks like he's calm, cool, and collected in the pocket. He's smooth. But he does have to get these numbers up. 3,100 yards passing, that's pretty good. 15-9 TD, TD interception ratio, it's okay. But again, he's been around the program for a while. 60% completion percentage, 138.2 quarterback rating. It's all pretty good. It's all okay. It's pretty good. But for Arkansas to save Sam Pittman's job, for Arkansas to rise above and get to a really good bowl game, not just go bowling at 6-6, but get to a better bowl game, Taylon Green does have to take it up even another level in his senior season. 602 yards rushing for Taylon Green. 602 yards rushing. Braylon Russell, running back, played a little bit last year, 354 yards rushing, 5.3 average yards per rush. He should be RB1. It could be Mike Washington, which we'll hit on in a second here. Braylon Russell should be ready to go. 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 receptions. They do have an option, Mike Washington, transferred in from New Mexico State. I believe Mike Washington is a senior. He's been around. He had his best year last year, 4.6 average per rush, 8 rushing touchdowns, 9 receptions. 9 receptions. And they're all going to be running behind Fernando Carmona, the senior left guard. I don't think he was a first team SEC. He might have been. Could have been a second team SEC. Oh, Jamie Bengal's girl, Fernando Carmona, first team all SEC. My apologies. Thank you, Jamie, for coming on in. Or Mary, or both of you. I thank you so very much. Jamie Bengal's girl, Mrs. Arkansas Razorback in the PATC family. So they got a couple of running backs. You know, Taylon Green is going into his senior season. Their wide receivers are, in my opinion, a big old wild card. Bobby Petrino, second year. Bobby Petrino, second year as OC. Jamie Bengal's girl, both of us are here. Thank you for coming on in, ladies. I do appreciate it. We've got Tennessee on the schedule again, so another win. Well, I think Tennessee is going to be down. I think they're going to be down a lot more than people think, and it ain't just about the quarterback position. We did a Tennessee spotlight, what was it? A couple days ago? Could have been yesterday. All these days are blurring, but we did a Tennessee spotlight. The wide receiver room is lots of wild cards. Omega Blake came from Charlotte. Now, the Minnesota Golden Gophers got a receiver in the portal 3 years ago named Elijah Spencer that came from Charlotte. And he turned out to be one hell of a receiver. He had a very good year last year. It was his senior year. He was the Gophers' second best wide receiver. He had a really good year. Omega Blake is coming from Charlotte. 32 receptions. Look at the yards. 795 receiving yards. 24.8 average per catch. 9 receiving TDs. You're talking about stretching the field. You're talking about stretching the field. So, can Taylon Green and Omega Blake, can they get a connection going this year? Very, very interesting. And here's another guy. Now, when we did the first team all SEC team, it was a couple of months ago. We did the first team all SEC team, first team all Big 12 team, etc., etc., etc. We talked about this man, Cam Shanks. A very exciting player, once again, out of the portal. Transferred from the University of Alabama, Birmingham. 62 receptions. He was a bubble guy. They ran a lot of bubble screens, a lot of flat passes, a lot of passes on the line of scrimmage. 62 receptions, 656 yards, 10.6 average per reception, 1 receiving TD. Cam Shanks was UAB's first down wide receiver. Not your third down, not when you need to move the chains, but when you need to get 6 yards, when you need to get 7 yards. Cam Shanks coming to Arkansas. He's a big old wild card, but that ain't the whole story. That's not the whole story about Cam Shanks. He led the nation, the entire nation, in punt return yards, 329. Cam Shanks led the entire nation in punt return average, 20.6 average per return. Cam Shanks led the entire nation in returning 2 touchdowns. So, when the Arkansas Razorback make a stop and you got to punt to Arkansas, punt it away. Punt it away, squib kick it. Punt it out of bounds. Punt it out of bounds against the Razorbacks in 2025. Because if you don't, Cam Shanks is going to make you pay. So, again, there's a lot of wild cards with the Arkansas season. Sam Pittman was able to save his job last year. Can he save his job this year? Can they even get to a bowl game? Can they get to a really good bowl game? I like how they start this season. The second game, Arkansas State. Okay. You get on the road. Your first road game at Ole Miss. I have not kept it a secret. I have not done the Ole Miss Rebel Spotlight show yet. I'm very up with Texas. I think Georgia is going to be very, very, very good. Very good. If they give the ball to Frazier. But Georgia is going to be very good. I think LSU is a playoff team. I don't care if they lose that first game. LSU is a playoff team. Georgia is a playoff team. Texas is a playoff team. Alabama is on the very edge once again. South Carolina is on the very edge. I think Missouri with Pubula and the guy from the kid from University of Louisiana Monroe, Hardy, the running. Missouri is going to have an excellent offense. But teams like Tennessee and Ole Miss, I think they're going to take a step back. So I think this is a very interesting first road game for Arkansas. I hope I'm in a position to watch that game, or maybe it's going to be part of a double watch party. I do not know. But I think Mississippi is going to lose games that nobody expects them to lose. This could be the one. Remember, we haven't talked about Ole Miss yet, but they got a quarterback coming on in who's going to be starting his first SEC game. I think it's his first, whatever. He hasn't faced the live bullets. And you got Taylon Green, a senior. And then Arkansas goes on the road again against Memphis before they come on home to play the Fighting Irish. Then they got that road game against Tennessee. I think their road games, I think Arkansas road games are against a couple of teams that are going to be slipping and a sliding. A slipping and a sliding. Now of course they're on the road against Texas and LSU. Those are going to be very difficult, but there is some opportunities here for Arkansas to win a 7th, to win an 8th game, even win a 9th game. Because I think there's some other teams in the SEC that are going to be slipping and sliding. I look, in my opinion, a lot of people have Arkansas coming in 13th or 14th place. Mississippi State and Kentucky going to be doing the do-si-do at 15 and 16. But I think there is a huge separation. A huge separation. A huge separation between a Kentucky, a Mississippi State, and an Arkansas. So put down your comments in the comment section and give me a phone call later in the show. I think Arkansas, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if Arkansas does save Sam Pittman's job again and Bobby Petrino with a senior quarterback going to get a little bit more juice out of the quarterback. I think they can improve. I think they can improve. Okay. Before we get to Brett McMurphy's report, Brett McMurphy On3, he just joined On3. Before we get to his report, I want to get to Ari Wasserman. The 10 college football coaches facing the most pressure during the 2025 season. I do not believe, when I read this article, I do not believe he means these are the 10 college football coaches that are most on the hot seat. Some of them are, but some of these listed are definitely not on the hot seat. They're not going to lose their job, but they have pressure because they have so much expectation brought onto them. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe it is the 10 coaches that are on the hottest seats. But essentially, I do agree with this list. Let's go over. Brent Venables, Oklahoma. He's got John Mateer. He's got Jaden Ott, the offensive coordinator. Ben Arbuckle that came with John Mateer from Washington State. Brent Venables. They got to get it done this year. Oklahoma has got to rise to at least the top 5, top 6 in the Southeastern Conference this year. I agree with that. Hugh Freeze has got a lot of pressure. Now, I think Auburn is going to be better this year. Some Southeastern Conference teams are going to slide, and I think some of them are going to pick up they're going to replace them. And to me, Auburn is one of those teams. I cannot imagine Auburn not improving on last year. Ari Wasserman, there are plenty sneaky good players on this team that aren't being hyped up. So 9 wins feels achievable. I agree. 9, 8 wins. I think Auburn is going to step up this year. I think the question is, what are they going to do next year after this year? Are they going to be able to build on that momentum? I think this Auburn team is almost a lock to be incredibly improved. Jackson Arnold with Eric Singleton. You guys know I've been praising Eric Singleton for years, and now he's with Auburn with Cam Coleman. Holy smokes. They're going to miss that running back. They don't have the running back tandem. But I think Auburn, you got that great defensive end rusher. Billy Napier, number 3 on the list. Again, I got Florida improving. Sorry, I do. I got Tennessee taking a step back. I got Ole Miss taking a step back. I don't have Alabama jumping up. I got Kentucky going worse. I got Vanderbilt taking a step back. I got Florida going upwards. I really like that Jacoby Jackson, Caden Baugh. I love the running back combination. Eugene Wilson. Remember the name Dallas Wilson, the other receiver. DJ Legway in the second year. They got a lot of defensive players. They've got a big old Tyreek on the defensive end that has big old numbers. Florida Gators, I know they got a brutal schedule, but they're going to give everybody a fight. Billy Napier, a lot of pressure. Lincoln Riley, I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. I got no idea what's going to happen. No question, he's got a lot of pressure on him. A lot of pressure. A lot. He should be on this list. They've got talent on that team. They were talented last year. They still got that great wide receiver, Lemon. I don't know. We are going to do a spotlight on USC coming up during the Big Ten Media Days. We have not done a PAT spotlight on USC. Mark Novell, of course, he's got a lot of pressure. You don't go 2-10, and what, are you going to survive at 6-6 this year? Probably not. Mike Novell has got a lot of pressure on him. Brian Kelly's got a lot of pressure on him. Now, I think LSU is going to be fantastic this year. Absolutely fantastic. Get a little bit more of a physical running game that you were missing last year, that Ole Miss was missing last year, that a lot of Southeastern Conference teams were missing last year. But I think LSU, I think the LSU Tigers are a real threat to Texas and Georgia. And I think the LSU Tigers are a real threat for the national championship against a Texas or a Clemson or a Penn State. That's how high I've got LSU, even if they lose that first game. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Brian Kelly because a lot of expectations on the LSU Tigers. Kalen DeBoer, I don't know, man. I hope Ty Simpson is the right guy. Bama's got a lot of talent. Bama's got a lot of talent. But I don't... Now, Jalen Milroe, who had a good year last year, but he was not the right guy for Kalen DeBoer. DeBoer, and bringing Grubb, the offensive coordinator that he had at University of Washington, they like to stretch the field. Milroe could not do that. Supposedly Ty Simpson can, but man, I read reports on Mr. I read the reports. I'm not convinced. I don't think Alabama makes it to the playoffs. I think there's going to be a fourth SEC team that's going to take Bama out. Georgia, LSU, Texas, and there are some candidates behind them. Candidates behind Alabama that I think are going to take that fourth spot and get into the playoffs. Remember, I only got 3 Big Ten teams in the playoffs this year. And one of them, I got Oregon at number 11. And that was before Evan Stewart, their wide receiver, got injured. I don't think the Big Ten's getting 4 in this year. But I have not made my official prediction yet. James Franklin. Now, maybe I'm being stupid. Maybe I'm being naive. I don't think there's a chance in hell James Franklin loses his job this year, no matter what the Lions do. Maybe I'm being naive when I say that. But there is a lot of pressure on James Franklin. This is the team. This is the moment. This is it. Penn State was ahead of Notre Dame 10-0 in that semifinal game. They lost 27-24. Penn State's quarterback, Drew Aller, could not complete a modern-day forward pass in that second half. It can't happen again. Penn State has got everything. They've got everything. They've got everything on defense. They got everything on offense. They've got some transfer wide receivers. They got Singleton, Allen. They've got defensive players up the wazoo. Franklin's got a tremendous amount of pressure. Mike Locksley, I don't know what's going to happen here, guys. I think this might be Mike Locksley's last season. I wonder what D5 Turks is thinking in the chat room. Is this the final opportunity for Locksley to show Maryland is a viable football program? They're probably, I don't know what their quarterback situation is a little crazy. Could go with the freshman. Billy Edwards went on to Wisconsin. And number 10 on the list, Luke Fickell. Is Luke Fickell, with that brutal schedule, is he going to make it to Minneapolis? Is he going to make it to Minnesota to fight for the Axe? The last game of the season, is he even going to make the trip? Is he going to last that long to make the trip? And if he does, you know, PJ Fleck gets along with everybody in the Big Ten. He has a close relationship with Franklin. He's got a close relationship with the Iowa coach. He's got a close relationship with Ryan Day. He had a very close relationship with Pat Fitzgerald. Jim Tressel is PJ Fleck's mentor. PJ Fleck and Luke Fickell hate each other. They hate each other. The programs hate each other. The fans hate each other. But the coaches despise each other. Does Luke Fickell make it to Minneapolis? Is PJ Fleck going to be Luke Fickell's last loss as the Badgers head coach? Or is Luke Fickell going to survive? Are they going to pull the upset? a bunch of upsets, at least a couple of them during the season. Those are the 10 head coaches with the most pressure on them in college football, according to Ari Wasserman. $40 million buyout for Fickle. He survives at least 1 or 2 more years. Fickle should have never left Cincinnati, honest take. Talking about buyouts, I'm just going to mention this real quick. The Golden Gopher fans are going to get mad at me when I say this. If any Golden Gophers are watching this. But I want everybody to keep in mind, when PJ Fleck signed his last extension, the contract that he just signed a couple weeks ago, last week, whenever it was, in very small writing on that contract, his buyout, what he would have to pay, or what the team that would take him would have to pay, has always been $10 million. It's not $10 million anymore. It's only 5. It's only 5. PJ Fleck, his agent, made sure that that buyout was cut in half. I ain't saying, but I'm saying. I ain't saying, but I'm saying. PJ Fleck is going to make sure, if the Golden Gophers don't, there's a lot of optimism, but when he's talking about commitment and investment in a football program, PJ Fleck is going to make sure that if there is an opportunity out there after the Gophers have another good year, and people know across the country how good a coach Fleck is, $5 million buyout instead of the traditional 10. So I got to worry about that all year. I've got to worry about that all year. Okay, let's get into... Here we go. The report. Brett McMurphy. And then we'll quickly go to your phone calls. We'll quickly go to your phone calls after going through this report. It's a short report. It's an impactful report. It's not a surprise report, but put it in the books report. The great Brett McMurphy. Sources. Big Ten refuses college football playoff compromise without an SEC schedule change. The Big Ten will not back off its preferred college football playoff format, guaranteeing the league 4 automatic qualifiers, unless the SEC decides to add a 9th conference game. Sources told On3. It's been exactly what we've been reporting to you all. The chatter behind the curtain. This is the chatter coming to life today in a report. Brett McMurphy, you can book it. The Big Ten will go with the 5+7, or they'll go with the 5+11. They'll dump the automatic qualifiers, but the SEC got to go to 9 games. There's no way, going back to the report, there's no way the Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti moves off the 4 AQs, a source said. With the Big Ten continuing to support the 4 AQ format, and with the SEC unlikely to add a 9th conference game, the 12-team playoff will likely continue for the 2026 season. We're staying at 12 teams in 2026 unless something moves, a source said. Last month, I reported, this was Brett McMurphy, I reported that the conference commissioners had decided to start over on determining the 2026 college football playoff format. The Big Ten and the SEC initially wanted 4 automatic qualifiers each, with 2 each to the ACC and the Big 12. The ACC and the Big 12 pushed back, while the SEC coaches later publicly did not support the 4 AQ model. Instead, preferred the 5 AQ plus 11, well, that's the 5 championships, plus 11 at large format for a 16-team playoff. However, there is no chance PATC money shot number 1 of the article. However, there is no chance the Big Ten will support the 5 plus 11, a source said, as long as the Southeastern Conference remains at 8 conference games. Because the Big Ten only plays 3 non-conference games compared to the 4 for the SEC, the Big Ten feels it's a disadvantage if the selection committee picks 11 at-large teams. And then it goes through a memorandum of understanding. The Big Ten and the SEC, they have the authority. They need to agree. But if they can't agree, we'll stick with the 12-team playoff with 5 conference champions, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey said on Monday. That could stay if we can't agree. I think there's this notion that there has to be this magic moment and something has to happen with expansion to the playoffs. College Football Playoff Executive Director Rich Clark told On3 he is confident that the commissioners will settle on a format for 2026. Whether it's an expanded playoff or remaining at 12, who knows? The deadline for finalizing the 2026 CFP format is December 1st. And then it talks about Brian Kelly. Not all schedules are the same. Not all wins and losses are the same. You're not going to see much action from our commissioner or anybody else on a 5 plus 11 format or a 9-game conference schedule until we know what the CFP selection process looks like. Once that's done, the other stuff falls into place. Kelly summed up why it's doubtful the Southeastern Conference would add a 9th conference game in 2026, which in turn what will keep the Big Ten preferring the 4 AQ model to 5 plus 11. So anyways, that's the report. It looks like there's not going to be truly any movement. I think the chalk is 5 plus 11. Same as it's been for 2026. Which means on December 1st, I'm going to have to eat a cheeseburger live on the show because we did not get the 4 automatic qualifiers for the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten. When I reported that it was a fait accompli, and I turned out to be wrong, and I've taken the L, I'll take the L again. We had been told at peek around the corner that the Southeastern Conference had agreed with the Big Ten on the 4 automatic qualifiers. Well, again, Brett McMurphy's report today, yes, the SEC was in favor of that, but it did not happen. The Southeastern Conference, listening to the coaches, listening to some of their athletic directors, decided that they did not want the 4 AQ model. They'd rather have the 5 plus 11 plus 8. 5 plus 11 with 8 conference games. But that's off the table. So what do you think? Do you think the Southeastern Conference is going to go to 9 conference games and go 5 plus 11? Or stay at 8 conference games and we go 5 plus 7? There is something There is something out there, though, ladies and gentlemen. There is, and we talked about it yesterday, the chatter behind the curtain, who has said for a couple of months that the Big Ten was going to be, they were not going to allow a 5+11 with the SEC staying at 8 conference games. But that same chatter, the same exact chatter, does say the Big Ten really wants to move to a 16-team playoffs. The chatter behind the curtain also says that the Southeastern Conference really truly wants to go to 16. Both of these conferences want to go to 16. They both want to go in a different way to get to 16. But it ain't like one of the conferences saying, boy, we like 12 better than 16. Because if that was the case, we would be at 5+7, and it would be all locked in. But both conferences want a 16-team playoff. Because of that, and there are lots of reasons why they want that. Their coaches want it. Their athletic directors want it. They want more playoff money. And the commissioner, the presidents want to expand the conference. The Southeastern Conference, not now, nothing imminent, is going to want to expand the conference. And when they do, they're going to expand the number of conference games. So they're going to do it anyways. When is the best time for the Southeastern Conference to go to 9 conference games? And again, my prediction, which is not a report, but my prediction based upon a lot of chatter behind the curtain and people that I talk with, when the Southeastern Conference expands, we think it's going to be a major, big, large scoop. And we think a couple of those programs are not going to be the highest, elite, top-notch football programs. There's going to be like a couple of programs in there. We think it's going to be North Carolina, Virginia, that are going to be like it ain't going to change the tier system of the Southeastern Conference. But yet they're going to bring value into the conference in their own way. And then the other part of the SEC scoop is to bring on a Florida State and Clemson to help grease the skids. That is our prediction. It's been our prediction since April 9th. So, both these conferences are going to expand again. The Big Ten has these expansion plans that are maybe not all that realistic. But that is what they're waiting for. They're waiting for something to break in North Carolina. If North Carolina breaks to the SEC, then they're going to call up Notre Dame. They're going to talk to Notre Dame again. And if that doesn't work, and if Florida State hasn't been taken yet, maybe a Miami, Florida State blend will work, or maybe a Miami, Georgia Tech blend will work. But the Big Ten has a lot of options. The Southeastern Conference, not so much. The Southeastern Conference is the Atlantic states of North Carolina and Virginia. That is their number one targets. And I think they need to take Florida State, Clemson with them. Because I don't think the Southeastern Conference wants Florida State and Florida I keep saying Florida. The Southeastern Conference does not want Florida State and Miami in the Big Ten. They don't want that. They got to stop that. They cannot have that happen. Because the Big Ten gets both of those Florida schools. Miami greases the skids for Florida State, and Florida State greases the skids for Miami. That'd be too big of a... That would be... The Southeastern Conference and ESPN cannot allow that. So that is why we think the big scoop is going to happen. Not imminent. North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, and Clemson to the Southeastern Conference. So I say all of that because the Southeastern Conference is going to expand again. They're going to go to that 9th conference game. They are. And they're not going to go to 20 teams while bringing on 4 elite football programs. They're not interested in that. But in North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, and Clemson, it seems to check off all the boxes. So Southeastern Conference is going to go to their 9th conference game. It ain't like they're going to stay at 8 forever. So when are they going to do it? Are they going to do it now so they can make sure they lock in the 5+11? Are they going to compromise now? Or do they tell the Big Ten, nah, not yet. That don't work for us, brother. You're not willing. We're not willing. Let's just stick it with 5+7 until 2030, 31. If that's the case, if the Southeastern Conference tells the Big Ten, nah, we're not doing it. We're not going to 9. We're going to stay at 8. Then there ain't going to be no expansion until 2030. Or I should say the odds of no expansion goes up dramatically if the playoffs are not expanded. We shall see what happens here. But we're going to all listen to Tony Petitti at the Big Ten Media Day, see what he has to say. But the Big Ten is saying no chance on 5+11 with the Southeastern Conference staying at 8 conference games. It just isn't going to happen. It's off the board. It's completely off the board. Helmer Henderson, look at the Olympics. Imagine the U.S. or Russia insisting on having larger teams than, say, Jamaica or whichever nation. Look at the Olympics. Imagine USA or Russia insisting on having larger teams. I don't know quite what you're saying there. Now, there are Olympic sports and Olympic contests in which teams do skip certain tiers of playoffs. The World Cup. There are World Cup nations, smaller nations, that they have to win, and they have to win a pool to get to the next pool where the bigger nations are waiting for them. I mean, it does happen in sports. I get what you're saying. I hope I got that right, what you're saying, Helmer Henderson. Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Appreciate it so very much. Would they dilute? John Famlor, let me get this straight. It's all about TV money. But the Southeastern Conference will willingly dilute the strength of the football games, add in a program like Virginia that might not even win a single game in conference. Would they dilute their strength? What if they added a North Carolina, a Virginia, a Florida State, and a Clemson, and they went from 8 conference games to 9 conference games? Is that really diluting? You're having more SEC games. You're having more big SEC games. And the price of that is to bring on the 2 biggest states that are not in Big Ten or SEC country? I don't know. A 20-team college football conference is total nonsense. Most schools would be total strangers to each other, which again brings us to the point the Big Ten ain't going back to 8 conference games. People keep saying, Greg, why don't Big Ten go to 8? Because the conference is 18 teams. Of course it's going to be 9. And you're going to have unbalanced schedules, which, by the way, the play-in games for automatic qualifier model takes care of that. Exactly correct, Jamie Bengals girl. Absolutely correct. Okay, let's see if anybody wants to give a call in here. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. Talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. Daniel Gorby. If they can't agree on a 16-team playoff this year, can they wait a year and make a decision a year from now? Yes, they can. Yep, they can make a change. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, Daniel Gorby. Yeah, whatever happens in 2026 doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that for 27, 28, 29, and 30.
Call from
Chris Kenny.
Chris Kenny, the floor is yours. Go ahead, sir. Appreciate your call.
Hey, Greg. I think it's interesting and not at all surprising that this McMurphy article comes out, like right as the SEC media days are ending and right before the Big Ten media days are about to begin.
Yeah.
So we can finally put a nail in the coffin in this like pathetic proposal, which no serious, I don't want to, I'm prone to hyperbole. Okay, serious people do support it, but I think it is not a serious proposal. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I want to respond though, because I see all these SEC people, and they're like, put your pom-poms down. Like, stop being a cheerleader for the Big Ten. Like, let's use facts. Let's be serious. Stop being a cheerleader. Stop being a homer. And I'm sure you get that, like, every time you talk about this topic. But, like, the only thing that I'm a cheerleader for, and that I think people who want the AQ model are a cheerleader for, or at a minimum want the SEC to go to 9 conference games, is we're a cheerleader for competition. We're a cheerleader for good games. We are a cheerleader for strengthening the product, not diluting it. Like all of these people, again, I think Brett Yormark is a cynic. I think he's playing a game. I think he's playing to the crowd when he says everything, but certainly when he says like, we're college football, like we do things differently. We're not the NFL. We don't want this to become an NFL model. Oh, really? Like what is the most popular sport on planet Earth? It's professional football. The National Football League has the best postseason. They have the best structure. They have the most interest for a reason. And you've said it many, many, many times. They prioritize and sell. They sell competition. Now, there's certain things college football will never have that the NFL has. We're never going to have a draft. Okay, there's things. There's probably not going to be a hard salary cap in the way that you have it in professional sports. Obviously, it's not the exact same thing. But what we get wrong in college football and what the pro leagues, particularly the NFL, and slowly the NBA and Major League Baseball are waking up to this. They're not coddling the players. They're starting to not coddle the deadbeat baseball owners as much. They're waking up to the fact the reason the NFL has leapt past them in ratings and in revenue by this dramatic amount is because competition. Every week, no matter who is playing in the NFL, the games matter. And people watch for that reason. Thursday Night Football, it doesn't matter who's playing. Like 15 million people are going to watch that game. And the reason is because people like the competition. The games matter. They have an impact on the playoff. They have an impact on the draft. Like it all matters. It all works and it reinforces itself. Like college football is missing that. And whatever you want to say about the AQ model, it is designed explicitly to promote competition within these leagues by having, ideally 9 conference games among all of the power conferences, having some form of an objective format based on standings within the league to give people an opportunity to get into the playoff. It encourages strong non-conference games. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm not going to repeat it all, but it is geared toward one thing, to promoting competition. If you have a 5+11 model with 8 conference games in the SEC, let's say, 8 conference games in the ACC, what are you doing? You are a cheerleader for what? For the dilution of the product? Fewer games against your conference foes? Like, why do you want that? Fewer good non-conference games? Why do you want that? For participation trophies? So that like Auburn or Oklahoma can go 4-0 playing a group of tomato cans in the non-conference, and then go 5-3 in the SEC and be like, hey, we're 9-3. We should play our way. We played our way in. What do you know? We should get one of those 8 at-large bids. Well, like, give me a break. 5 of those 5 SEC wins gets you into the playoff. What if 3 of them are like Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arkansas? Like,
well,
if
you
that's
look
not
at what
competition.
Ole Miss did last year, that's exactly what Lane Kiffin is arguing. They went 5-3. They lost to Kentucky. They went
beat
5-3
Georgia
against teams with a pulse.
Yeah.
So they finished 9-3, and they think they should be in the playoffs. I can see a 9-3 SEC team making it, no question.
Of course,
but not Ole Miss. And they were so upset about it. So again, go ahead, sir.
No, Lane Kiffin's a joke. Ole Miss beat Duke in football, not basketball. They beat Duke in football, and it was their backups. Like Cooper Flagg wasn't playing quarterback. Okay, it was like backups, the Duke backups on like a Tuesday night in Jacksonville on like January 5th, and he's congratulating himself and being a martyr for the next 9 months, talking about how they were one of the 12 best teams in the country. Give me a break. Give me a break. Alabama, same thing. Losing to Vanderbilt, losing to Oklahoma, getting your clock clean, manhandled by like the third stringers from Michigan. It's all a joke. So like, what is the answer to that? The answer is objective criteria. I'm completely in favor of that, but objective criteria isn't like whatever metric you put up on the screen at the beginning of the show, whatever silly metric ESPN concocts in order to promote whatever the games are on the ABC triple header. That's all they're doing. There's nothing objective about that. Like, say what you want about the AQ model. It is absolutely objective. If you finish in the top 4 or the top 2 in your conference, you get in. If you're in one of the power leagues, like there's nothing subjective about that. It is completely objective. So I'm glad that we're moving past this silly debate. Like the Big Ten has put its foot down. As I said, over a month ago, there was no way they were going to get railroaded. If they wanted to veto it, they would veto it. I think it's obvious now with this article, it's been vetoed. Maybe we just stay at 12 for a few more years. I don't think, like I said yesterday, I don't think that's the problem. I think the Big Ten is doing just fine under the 12-team model. They can continue to put 4 teams in the playoff. They can continue to compete for a national championship. And if and when, like, it works for the SEC to go to 9 when they expand, then, we can revisit this plan. I think, and I'll end on this. I don't think the AQ model is dead. I really do think there's a reason the Big Ten thought they had a deal. It's because the ADs and Greg Sankey indicated in those meetings they did have a deal. And it was only when the coaches lit their hair on fire because they might get fired going, 4-5 in their conference instead of 4-4 and playing their way into the Armed Forces Bowl to lose to Navy. That's when this all went sideways. So there's still time to revive it. There's time for people to take a deep breath. There's time for people to revisit this, understand where the value is in college football. It is in competition. And if it needs to happen when the SEC goes to 20 teams and then 9 games, then so be it. The Big Ten will be here. They're not going anywhere. And this is the sort of model they're going to have to move to if they want to generate the extra revenue they need to compete in this new revenue sharing era. So that's all I got to say. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the call, my man.
Bye-bye.
Good call, sir. Call again. Thank you, Chris Kinney. Michigan Wolverine Curtis. The Big Ten gets Georgia Tech. Hands are Georgia Tech and Miami. The Notre Dame most likely join the Big Ten. The Big Ten will then expand to 24 teams, leaving 3 spots open. There will be a top brand in the Big 12 to try to join the Big Ten. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you for the super chat. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for all your support, Michigan man, Curtis. Thank you so much. Hammer Hennison, another Michigan man. They're all over the place. If the Big Ten and the SEC are the superior conferences, why do they need more teams in the playoffs? To whittle down the viability of other conferences. Thank you for the super chat, Hammer Hennison. I do appreciate it. Again, it would be fantastic if everybody had the same automatic qualifier spots. The Big Ten and the SEC are more powerful. They got more voting rights. They got more distribution money. They got more eyeballs. So they think they should get more AQ spots. I think a compromise on that is to let the Big Ten and the SEC, I shouldn't say let. The Big Ten and the SEC start out with more automatic qualifiers, but it is not a permanent number. Based upon performance in the playoffs, those numbers can be adjusted. So if the Big Ten sucks like everybody in the chat room thinks they do, except for Big Ten people, if the Big Ten does not do well in the next 3 years in the playoffs, their AQ number will go down, not up. That's how I think they should do it. But again, I am a nobody. Thank you, Hammer Hennison. Appreciate the support, the super chat. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Curtis and Mr. Hammer Hennison. Thomas Moss, 12-team playoff. 12-team playoff. 12-team playoff. Rod Nix, we will stay at 12 until 2029-30 when everything is on the table and the game's near checkmate. You could be correct, Rod. You could be correct. MH Ortho 12. I've always wanted a 16-team playoff. 4 SEC, Big 10, Big 12, 2 at-large, and 2 G5. So MH Ortho 12 is looking at the ACC to be destroyed for his plan to work. Nerf, the preseason polls are a big problem. Always has been. Should wait until like week 6 for the first poll, but it generates too much interest and money to get rid of it, I guess. Again, according to ESPN Analytics, these are the toughest schedules in FBS for 2025. Number 1, Florida. Number 2, Vanderbilt. Number 3, Oklahoma. Number 4, Texas. Number 5, Arkansas. Number 6, Mississippi State. Number 7, Kentucky. Number 8, Georgia. Number 9, Texas A&M. Number 10, Alabama. Number 11, LSU. Toughest schedules, strength of record, self-fulfilling prophecy. All of our wins are more valuable. All of our losses are more valuable. Therefore, I gave this warning out last year. I'm going to give this warning out right now. Therefore, if you're going to qualify in the 12-team playoff, or if you're going to qualify in a 16-team playoff, as an at-large team, if you do not win your conference championship, if we're not going to have play-in games, if we're not going to have automatic qualifiers, if you got to get in as an at-large bid, Big 12 team, you're going to have to finish at least one game better than the SEC team. At least one game. At least one game. sometimes 2 games. BYU, last year. We'll see what happens this year. We'll see what happens this year. Phone lines are open, 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. Didn't belong in the playoffs last year. Boy, BYU football, you are, I don't know if you are like sending letters to Greg Sankey every week, telling about the power of BYU and how they should be in the Southeastern Conference. You're trying to butter up Greg Sankey. I thought the 12-team playoff was fantastic last year. Fantastic. You are always going to have blowouts. You are always going to have blowouts. Is that what's going on? Because he sure sounds like an SEC fan. You can't lose 2 out of your last 3 games and expect to go to the playoffs. Alabama expected to go to the playoffs. Alabama expected to go to the playoffs. You got to tell you, LSU couldn't handle a 6-6 U.S. team who lost to my beloved Gophers. Ole Miss should have went. Nah, come on. Come on. Ole Miss should not have been to the playoffs, in my opinion. Ole Miss couldn't even make a 3rd down and 2 or a 4th down and 2 if their life depended on it. They had to give a ball to the big old, what was he, an offensive lineman, a linebacker, on short yardage. They couldn't move the pile. Ole Miss Rebels could not move. If it wasn't for Jackson Dart, that Ole Miss team, man, that's why I don't have them doing much this year. That's why I do not have Ole Miss doing much this year. We'll see. Playoff flexibility and no war. Jose. Fight on USC. Playoff flexibility and no war. Where is Western Civic? Where is Western Civic? That's the question. Hey, Gophers. Gophers almost beat Michigan last year. They had that onside kick that was perfect. And if the refs would have allowed the Gophers to get it, which they should have, the Gophers were probably going to win that game because Michigan was gassed. Gophers beat Illinois last year. Gophers was one of the best 8-5 teams in the country. One of the best 8-5 teams in the country.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you coming on in. Okay, we've been on the air for 1 hour and 40 minutes. It doesn't look like anyone else wants to call, the fat guy from Minnesota. I want to thank everybody for coming on in. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel. We are here almost every single day. Subscribe to our channel and turn on those notifications. Keep your head on a swivel. We can come on later tonight if there's breaking news. We've got Donald Trump possibly doing an executive order on NIL standards across the country. We got a lot of possible possible breaking news that is going on in college football. So, subscribe to our channel, turn on those notifications, keep your head on a swivel. I want to thank Helmer Hennessy, Curtis, Daniel Gorby, Ryan Willie, Heartbreak 25, Preston from Greensboro, for your donations, for your generosity. I thank you guys so very much. I very much appreciate it. Jamie Bengals girl, thanks for coming on in. Mrs. Arkansas Razorback and Mary, thank you guys for coming on in while we did the Arkansas Razorback Spotlight. Am I being Greg the Cold when I say that I think Arkansas, I think they're going to be a little bit better than last year. I think they're going to improve. I think they're going to move up in the conference records. Taylon Green, Braylon Russell, Mike Washington, the transfer from New Mexico State, and this guy, Omega Blake. Is he going to be able to stretch the field in SEC play? And what about Cam Shanks? The leader in the country, punt return yards, and average, and TDs. Cam Shanks, Arkansas Razorback, Sam Pittman, Bobby Petrino. This has been your Arkansas Razor Spotlight. I want to thank everybody who's joined us. I'm very humbled that you would all take some time out of your Wednesday evening to join us here at Peek Around the Corner. We're going to be coming on live tomorrow. It's going to be a very busy next 4 days. Very busy next 4 days here at Peek Around the Corner. So buckle up, brace for impact, hint, hint, wink, wink. We'll see you tomorrow. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please y'all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.